I've always said, nobody gets a costume for a depressing reason. And so very few people that are really sad have ever come through those doors.
Heaping up memories.
Today is the exception, a day different from any of the more than 37,000 that have preceded it.
Yeah, I will be heaving some great sighs, trying very, very hard not to get caught in the sentimentality of what I'm going to miss.
I've been holding out pretty well, but man. I mean, this joint's been, what, 40 years of my life and 50 years of my life.
When I'm driving by here now, I get a lump in my throat already.
I was just like, oh my God, no, it's not so. I was just there. I don't believe it.
And I didn't know
I don't believe it.
Word has, indeed, spread quickly throughout a disbelieving Indianapolis, and it's big news. For there has been a Landis Costumes in the city longer than there has been a 500-mile race.
We costumed our children, who are now, I got a costume for my granddaughter here.
I too came when I was in high school, and I believe my mother even came when she was in high school.
But after today, it will be no more.
The owners get older, they get tired, and it's hard to find somebody that's my age to come in and run this.
It's so easy to go on the internet and get a costume brought to your door.
Absolutely has hurt us very, very much so. I feel there's very much a misconception about packaged costumes versus rental costumes. You can rent a good quality costume, complete with accessories, for about the same price you're going to spend to buy a packaged costume.
The last purchase, Landis Costumes. It was heartbreaking. It was really hard. Going down the stairs the last time, a lot of memories. I wouldn't be where I am today without them.
Records for Landis Costumes go back over a century, when Harry K. Landis, a sign painter who counted among his buddies one James Whitcomb Riley, found himself making outfits for the Knights of Pythias and the Shriners.
He expanded from there into costumes because so many friends would come up and say, can I borrow that one that nobody uses anymore for Halloween?
Son Art took over the business, adding caps and gowns, and soon the name Landis was out there and everywhere.
In fact, my mother's graduation robe from Marion College had a Landis label in it.
Grandkids Joe, Mary Lou, and Diane took over until a young butler student skilled in scene craft and sewing, a regular at the shop when it came to creating mascots, took over in the 80s for a very specific reason.
I couldn't see a history that long and illustrious go down before it made 100 years.
Would it be fair to call you the Queen of Costumes?
Actually, I'm the Empress. We always said Mary Lou was the queen, and then when I bought the shop, they said I was the Empress. To be a beekeeper. How silly is that? Wilma, aloha, bellhop, vacation, barbershop. Light a rose, I'm home again, Rose. Rescue, Boy Scouts, train, engineer, the caveman. It's a classic. Le chef, would you like the crepes today? I think the only costume somebody requested that really struck me as okay was they asked if I had a light bulb costume. And that I didn't have. A light bulb, now how could I make that? One of the things I won't miss is 8 loads of laundry a day. We sent some Civil War costumes out for a reenactors group over in Illinois one year for the whole summer. And when they brought the costumes back, the man said to me, we had an accident. and one of the guys was standing and singing, and his muzzle loader went off. Well, then the kid that was doing laundry came out, and he went, "I think I just found the pants of the man whose gun went off."
Here we go, Happy Bear. All righty, here we go. I'm going to go over to 25 and 25. We'll bet $10 on the old bear.
Here is a bull costume, accessory piece. Somebody get 25, $5, $10, hit 5, 10, 15.
The fabrics that once danced to Hammerstein and Sondheim or strutted to Miller and Wilde now move along to the cadence of the auctioneer.
Ladies, I'm selling flapper dresses up here.
Okay, buy this monster right here. Here's just the astronaut's helmet.
This is my first time in an auction. I was shaking. You had 8 transactions, $100.05.
And when they say everything must go,
Go get a dollar bill for that trash can. Metal trash can, guys. Fill it up with clothes. $1.
yet through it all, Rachel seems to be in amazingly good spirits.
And don't forget, I've also been an actress. No, but the truth of the matter is, I have so many good memories of this place.
Memories of fun, of national awards and international acclaim, of being the creator of Sammy Terry's cape, famous to hundreds of kids who braved a parent's wrath to sneak in a late evening's nightmare, of crafting costumes so authentic they graced museum displays. 10,000 costumes made in a family shop, one that had a passion for sharing the family business.
When I was in high school, and upon graduating, I took this pathetic little resume and portfolio to Landis Costume Company. And Diane Landis was working the counter, and she said, "We're not hiring." But Joe Landis overheard the owner and said, "You really have a passion for this, but you have no idea how to make it happen." He said, "And I'm going to teach you."
It is a family, a theater family. We used to joke about collecting stray folks. Come on in, you're part of the family now.
At Halloween, when the last customer had gone for the Halloween season, we would shut the doors, we would break out the champagne.
Most of the time, 2 sips of champagne and we'd be sound asleep because we were so tired. Every single piece, there's a memory, a story behind someone who wore this gown and was so beautiful on stage, and her family was so proud of her. Or I've had the mousy little quiet secretary who had to dress up for work, and we put her in something outrageous like a gorilla costume, and no one knew who she was. And the stories from the Santa Clauses about the children at the hospital whose lives they affected.
The chill of the emptying display rooms becomes warm with laughter when, as it has for a century, living in this material world rubs the joy of make-believe off on those who had come to wish that magic goodbye.
It's fun bringing students to get fitted for costumes. And then when their eyes light up, you know you found the right costume for what they're trying to do. It's awesome.
I wish people would just wear some more funny stuff. Can you imagine going to drive-through like, ooh, I would fancy some like burger and a cow.
It's overwhelming. You don't even, it's amazing. You don't even know where to start. It's a dream come true for someone like me.
You get to play Barbies with real people.
And they've got a long way to go before it's empty.
And what now is next for the woman who's allowed so many grown-ups to act like kids, now that it's time for her, too, to put away the things of a child, at least for a little while?
I've always said I want to be the dedication page. I want to inspire you to do something great. If I can do that, that's what I want to be. I want to be the dedication page. Like I said before, nobody gets a costume for a depressing reason. We're all about having fun. And we've had a lot of fun over the 103-year history. And I've been here for 32 of that. That's a pretty, we've had a darn good run.
September 21st is Playing for Change Day.
One Love Playing for Change Foundation builds schools and awareness around the world, preserving local music and teaching the local music to the people who live there. We're actually saving their music for them. Well, we have 50 musicians plus out here playing all over the area. Music is much more than just making noise, even being joyful with that noise. Music is the expression of that individual to the world.
More or less, I've been playing the acoustic since I was 5 years old. Well, I'm broke and I ain't got a dime. From there, I went to Fort Wayne, studied in art school. From there, I went to New Orleans for about 7 years and traveled the country for a while. Getting hard luck sometimes.
Nobody's more free than the street musician. You play what you want, how you want, when you want.
All day we're going to be asking you to stop, to listen, to put your hands together and clap, and then we're going to ask you to reach in and put a little bit of change in so that we can make a change around the world. Ladies and gentlemen,
Playing stick.
Swamp Possum.
Playing for Change Foundation, 97 cents on the dollar goes to the kids' programs.
Someone told me there's a girl out there, love in her eyes and flowers.
We're one of about 300 events happening right now. So the real thing we're trying to accomplish, I think, is more public awareness about what it means to put music on the street, what musicians, the purpose and what they really serve, how they serve the community, that kind of thing. That is the first message that created the Playing for Change Foundation and the schools that we're supporting.
Looking for the new world and the palace in the sun.
Playing for Change Indianapolis has probably some of the best performers in central Indiana, or anywhere. I mean, you know, the guys that are playing right now all over the streets, Jethro Easyfields, Ben Brashear, you know, Danny Hargrove, the groups that are playing, Innocent Boys, for example, that's going to play in just about 30 minutes. We really have tremendous musicians, and through Playing for Change, we're sending them out to the world. Musicians are special because of the fact that they share from their hearts and bring people together.
We have dozens and dozens of musicians here that want to reach out to people and say, this is not a waste of time. This is something that's inside of you and it's inside of me. Music is a part of all of us. So the Playing for Change Foundation wants to give the opportunity to any child that has the desire to learn music, to give them the opportunity to do so.
We're all trying to make that change happen. And right here, when you see a child dance in front of the musician, when you hear the parents laughing, when you get that response from them, you know that you're making a difference here today and other places in the world tomorrow.
Well, I'm standing on Virginia Street one day, where one dime is all that I have.
We have to preserve the music to find the soul and the sound of human beings around the world and bring people together through music.
Got a dime. Well, I'm broke and I ain't got a dime. Everybody getting hard luck sometime. Woo!
There are some who say that Wabash has always had a sort of kick-butt attitude. After all, its courthouse here was ground zero for the first time a city ever bathed itself in the progressive glow of electric light. But there was a time, and one not too long ago at that, when all that urban enlightenment seemed to have gone dark.
We were gone for Wabash for about 20 years and came back 14 years ago. And it was sad because the town that we'd left wasn't here anymore.
I get a lot of out of town people. The comment I always get is that they say, well, we used to have a theater like this. Do you know what it is now? It sits empty. Or it's a parking lot.
Please. One ticket, please.
If there is a symbol for Wabash's current renaissance, it might be the Eagles Theater. Built in 1906, more recent times suggested that any sort of film entertainment for local townsfolk was destined to be in the nearest theater in the closest burb out of town. But no more.
How much is it? You're getting up to $4. Wow.
Tonight is Throwback Tuesday. Classic films on the big screen at an Eagles that's now more than a theater. It's a community gathering place in the very center of downtown.
We do everything from weddings, comedy, blues, and the movies. All in one.
I grew up just a few blocks from here, came here as a little boy, watched Tarzan movies, all that kind of thing, and then to see the theater restored and to be able to come and see the movies with my wife and to know that it's going to be preserved for a long, long time, it's really great.
Nostalgia is everywhere and old school reigns, even down to the current 1950s projector.
It's sweet to watch it run. We're hitting every age group, and they love the building, and they see it and they light up every time. And that's what I love about it, because when I see it, I light up. The building is just, it's alive. It's alive again.
When they decided to redo the theater, I think just the emotional background that we all had, you know, just those memories, the wonderful memories of being here. It was hard to keep the tears back because this is the way it used to be.
We could have torn it down and put in a multiplex, but it's a much different experience to go into a 1906 theater and watch in the same theater where 100 years ago people were watching some of the first films ever created.
Now, it might surprise you to know who owns and runs the Eagles. A foundation, the Honeywell Foundation to be exact. It bought the building, raised the private funds to make the renovation a reality, and when they couldn't find just the right person to keep the venue up to its standards, it's involved in running it themselves.
We knew that if we couldn't make it work, probably nobody could make it work.
This is the Honeywell Center, and if a certain can-do spirit seems to be in Wabash's genes, it needed the catalyst of this man to show just how far that enthusiasm could be taken. Oddly enough, Mark Honeywell hadn't really planned to stick around the city in which he was born and raised. But when a Florida citrus venture turned disastrous, he returned to Wabash, where fate had a much better destiny in mind for him and his hometown. And if the name Honeywell rings a bell with you, Mark began to tinker with the creation of thermostats and heating control systems, and both a fortune and an empire evolved.
Oh gosh, this is so cute.
Upon the passing of his wife Olive, Mark built this section of the center in honor of her and his parents.
Mark Honeywell, on the building dedication at the Honeywell Center, dedicated the building to the people of Wabash in the state of Indiana, and then he said, may it ever be useful to them. And that's really a mantra we live by.
Late in life, Mark Honeywell remarried. Eugenia Nixon was a successful businesswoman in her own right who owned a newspaper chain. A concert pianist skilled enough to be a guest performer with the Miami, Cincinnati, and Indianapolis symphonies, passionate about arts and a world traveler to boot, Eugenia wasn't adverse to calling in a few favors.
She was able to bring people like Van Cliburn and Beverly Sills and some of the really great classical musicians of the mid-20th century to Wabash to perform here. And that did set the stage and kind of set the bar for things to come later.
First large coming in.
Part of what's come later is this state-of-the-art Ford Theater, and one peek at the banners on the wall reveals the continuing Honeywell tradition of a guest list that would give The Tonight Show a run for its money.
I think they planted that seed, and there have been people of like mind that have been able to continue that spirit. People of means can do anything they want, really. The real legacy is whether or not it continues after you're gone. Mark and Eugenia both were able to instill in the community a sense of that these things had value and were important.
Now, if you're wondering how the foundation escaped the tribulations of recession, it didn't.
We spent a lot of time cutting, trying to improve our bottom line, and we reached a point where we just couldn't cut any further without just cutting ourselves out of business. We took a leap of faith and decided that we were going to go big or go home. It was the only way to survive.
We see ourselves as a regional entity that 74% of our ticket buyers come from outside of Wabash. So we kind of see it as this is our job and our duty to make sure that we're doing something that's not just for Wabash and Wabash County, but it's for this greater region. And what's really neat about it is because it's this greater rural region. So there's all these little towns out there that aren't getting this kind of service, and so we can be that for them. We can be that artistic provider.
And that's what got our attention about bringing you this story in the first place. You're witnessing the revitalization of a downtown using many partners, but with art as the vehicle. The key? Making art relevant to the community. A prime example is the Honeywell House. Eugenia wanted her home to become a cultural destination, and so it has, with some 24 events, most of them free, offered each year, including cabarets, lectures, high school choirs, jazz, chamber music, and banquets, along with historical tours for third graders.
House museums, as a rule, are kind of disappearing. We've been fortunate here in Wabash that hasn't been the case, and I think it is because we make a very strong effort to be relevant to the community, as opposed to just that big old house down the street.
Another relevance for the foundation is to be there in art residencies for schools, serving 45,000 students grades K through 12 in a dozen counties and free of charge, proving whether it's museum homes, schools, or theaters, art is good for growing things.
By learning about music, learning about visual arts and theater, that we really are helping our students be critical thinkers, be creative thinkers, and perform better in all areas of academics. We see examples like that over and over all the time of how the arts can inspire students who don't traditionally click in the normal classroom. We had a student last year who was autistic and seldom participates in classroom conversation, and he raised his hand, and I was so excited because he gave a great answer, and he continued to be a participant for the rest of the year.
Our goal is to provide as many services as we can for the region. And the nice part about that is that it's all worked out fairly well for us. That's a part of history that is ingrained in many of the people that grew up here and live here. With that Honeywell legacy and one man and his wife and a close circle of friends has grown into a much wider circle of people that want to be involved and really carry on that tradition.
We still get to live that legacy. We still get to participate, and it's as if they're still here. I do think they've been able to kind of be that high tide that's lifting all the boats, and we continue to enjoy it today.
To see Wabash to be coming back like it is really wonderful to me. I brag on Wabash all the time on what a great town it is, and I wouldn't want to live anywhere else.
Wabash has been embraced by Wabash, and we're doing our best.